Welcome back to the deep dive. This time we're taking you on a journey through the Syrian Revolution, a complex and impactful event that's sadly still shaping the region. We're going to try to explore its key moments, uncovering surprising details and understanding the forces that drove this tumultuous period.
It's a history filled with hope and struggle and ultimately tragedy. And by delving into its nuances, I think you'll gain a deeper understanding of the situation in Syria today and its global implications.
Exactly. We're gonna uncover some fascinating insights, like how a child's tragic death became a global symbol, the unexpected rise of ISIS, and even how baklava played a role in this conflict.
Yeah, sometimes those smaller details can reveal more about a situation than the headlines ever could.
Okay, so let's unpack this complex timeline, starting with the early days. It's 2011, and the Arab Spring is sweeping across the Middle East and North Africa. People are demanding change, and Syria is no exception.
Right, you see these initial protests erupting in cities like Damascus and Daraa, and people are yearning for freedom, for political reforms. It was a period of immense hope, a belief that a different future was possible.
Yeah, it started with peaceful demonstrations, right? Like what we saw in other countries during the Arab Spring.
Yeah. Yes, initially the protests were peaceful. People took to the streets, voicing their demands for change. However, the regime's response was swift and brutal, crushing these demonstrations with force.
And this is where the tragic story of Hamza al-Khatib comes in, a 13-year-old boy who became a symbol of the revolution's brutality.
Yeah, his story it's heartbreaking. Hamza was detained during a protest, and what happened next truly shocked the world. He was tortured and killed by the regime. And when the details of his death emerged, it ignited outrage, both within Syria and internationally.
So this wasn't just another story of an unfortunate casualty. Hamza's death became a pivotal moment, bringing the world's attention to the horrors unfolding in Syria.
Absolutely. It galvanized international attention and support for the Syrian people. It was a stark illustration of the regime's brutality and the lengths they were willing to go to maintain power.
Yeah, it became a rallying cry, a symbol of the innocents lost in this struggle for freedom.
Precisely. And then just weeks after Hamza's death, we see the Great Friday protests taking place.
Tens of thousands of people marching in Damascus demanding change. What was the significance of these protests?
The Great Friday protests were a massive demonstration of defiance. It was a testament to the scale and spirit of the movement. It showed that despite the regime's brutality, the Syrian people were not intimidated. They were determined to fight for their future.
It sounds like a real turning point, a moment where the momentum shifted.
It was, but as the protests grew, so did the regime's violence. And this is where the revolution takes a turn towards armed conflict. We see the formation of the Free Syrian Army, or FSA, composed largely of defectors from the Syrian military.
So these were soldiers who were no longer willing to obey orders to fire on their own people.
Exactly. They chose to stand with the revolution, putting their lives on the line for the cause of freedom. It was a clear sign that the regime was losing its grip on power, even within its own ranks.
Yeah, it's a powerful example of individual conscience in the face of authoritarianism. Oh. These soldiers could have chosen to stay silent, but they decided to take a stand.
Their choice had profound consequences, shaping the trajectory of the conflict and transforming it into a full-blown civil war.
One of the key battles during this period was the Damascus volcano and Syrian earthquake operation. What can you tell us about this?
This operation launched by the FSA targeted key regime facilities in the heart of Damascus, including the National Security Building. It was a daring move aimed at disrupting the regime's command structure and showing their strength.
So they were taking the fight directly to the regime, right into their stronghold.
Yes, it was a sign that the conflict was escalating rapidly and that the rebels were becoming a significant force to be reckoned with. It also showed that the capital was not immune to the chaos engulfing the country.
As the fighting intensified, the conflict began to attract international attention. It wasn't just a Syrian issue anymore. It was becoming a global concern.
That's right. As the violence escalated, various international actors began to get involved, turning Syria into a proxy war.
And it sounds like things were getting incredibly complex. How did this international involvement play out?
Well, one of the key players to enter the scene was Hezbollah, the Lebanese militant group. They provided crucial support to the Assad regime, bolstering their forces and shifting the balance of power.
Hezbollah, the group known for its staunch support of Iran. So this was adding a sectarian dimension to the conflict.
Yes, their involvement deepened the sectarian divide, with different religious groups aligning themselves with opposing sides. It was no longer just a fight for political change. It was becoming a battle for survival for many.
And you mentioned earlier that even something as seemingly insignificant as baklava played a role in this conflict. How so?
This is where those seemingly small details can offer a glimpse into the larger dynamics at play. After a key victory for Hezbollah in Syria, there were reports of celebratory distribution of baklava in Beirut, their stronghold.
So a sweet treat becomes a symbol of victory and a way to rally support.
Exactly. It highlights how interconnected this conflict became, with regional politics and ideologies extending even to culinary traditions.
It's a reminder that this was a conflict with far-reaching implications, influencing everything from military alliances to cultural expressions.
Absolutely. And then, as if the situation wasn't complex enough, you have the emergence of ISIS, adding yet another layer of complexity to this already multifaceted war.
ISIS, the extremist group known for its brutal tactics and its ambition to establish a caliphate. How did their entry into the Syrian conflict change things?
The rise of ISIS was a game changer. They exploited the chaos and power vacuum created by the civil war, seizing vast swaths of territory and declaring a caliphate. Their brutality shocked the world and drew in a U.S.-led coalition to combat their growing influence.
So now you have this incredibly complicated situation with multiple factions vying for power, international actors pursuing their own interests, and a humanitarian crisis unfolding on a massive scale. What happened next?
It was during this turbulent period in 2015 that Russia made a decisive move, directly intervening in the conflict in support of the Assad regime.
Russia, a longtime ally of Syria, stepping in to bolster Assad's forces. How did their involvement impact the course of the war?
Russia's intervention was a major turning point. They brought in air power, sophisticated weaponry, and military advisors, significantly tipping the scales in favor of the regime. It was a clear demonstration of their commitment to preserving Assad's hold on power.
It sounds like this dramatically escalated the violence with Russia's military might being unleashed on the opposition.
It did. The Russian air campaign was particularly devastating, with indiscriminate bombing of civilian areas, including hospitals and schools. The human cost was immense, further fueling the humanitarian crisis.
One of the most harrowing examples of this brutality was the siege of Yarmouk camp in Damascus.
Yarmouk was a Palestinian refugee camp that became a symbol of the regime's ruthlessness. Civilians were trapped, subjected to starvation, and denied basic necessities. It was a humanitarian catastrophe that unfolded in plain sight of the world. Yet little was done to stop it.
It's a stark reminder of the human cost of this conflict, the immense suffering endured by ordinary Syrians caught in the crossfire.
The Yarmouk siege is just one example of the many atrocities committed during this war. The regime also repeatedly used chemical weapons against its own people, crossing international red lines and drawing a global condemnation.
Chemical weapons, a horrific violation of international law used against innocent civilians. It's truly a dark chapter in this conflict.
It was a moment of reckoning for the international community. Yet despite the condemnation, the regime continued to act with impunity, demonstrating the limitations of international pressure in the face of such blatant disregard for human life.
And then in 2023, a devastating earthquake struck Syria, adding another layer of tragedy to this already dire situation.
The earthquake was a cruel blow to a population already reeling from years of war and hardship. It highlighted the vulnerability of the Syrian people and the urgent need for humanitarian assistance.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even amidst political turmoil and conflict, natural disasters can exacerbate suffering and further complicate an already complex situation.
Absolutely. The earthquake revealed the fragility of the situation in Syria and the urgent need for international cooperation to address the humanitarian crisis.
Amidst all this suffering, were there any attempts to find a political solution to end the bloodshed?
Yes, there were efforts to bring the warring parties to the negotiating table. The Geneva peace talks and UN Resolution 2254 aimed to find a political settlement, but these attempts faced immense challenges.
It sounds like these peace talks were incredibly complex given the number of actors involved and their competing interests.
They were the complexities of the conflict, the regime's intransigence, and the involvement of various regional and international powers made finding common ground incredibly difficult.
And then in 2023 we see a controversial development: the Syrian regime's return to the Arab League. What can you tell us about this?
This was a significant moment marking a shift in the regional landscape. The decision driven by realpolitik and a desire for regional stability was met with mixed reactions.
So some saw it as a pragmatic step towards re-engaging with Syria,
right,
while others criticized it as a premature acceptance of a regime accused of countless atrocities.
Exactly. It raised a lot of questions about accountability and justice. Can there be reconciliation without addressing the crimes of the past? Can regional stability be achieved without ensuring justice for the victims?
These are critical questions that continue to be debated both within Syria and internationally.
And while the world grapples with these questions, another surprising development emerges. One that reveals a darker side of the Assad regime.
What's that? This deep dive just keeps getting more and more intriguing.
The Assad regime, having consolidated its control over much of the country, has emerged as a major player in the global drug trade.
This is the part of it, the Captagon trade, right?
Right.
It's hard to believe that a regime embroiled in a brutal civil war would also be involved in drug trafficking.
It's a shocking development. The regime is flooding the region with Captagon, a highly addictive amphetamine, generating massive profits and fueling a dangerous black market.
So while the world focuses on the political and military aspects of the conflict, the Assad regime is quietly building a drug empire.
It appears so. This development raises serious concerns about the regime's intentions and its role in destabilizing the region. It also highlights the complex nexus between conflict, crime, and corruption that often characterizes such situations.
It's a chilling reminder that the Syrian conflict is far from over, and that its consequences extend far beyond the country's borders. So as we look at the present situation in Syria, what's the outlook?
Syria remains a fractured country, grappling with the aftermath of war. The economy is in ruins. Millions are displaced, and the humanitarian crisis shows no signs of abating. The future remains incredibly uncertain.
It sounds like the Syrian people are facing an incredibly difficult path ahead with immense challenges to overcome.
They are, but amidst this bleak landscape, there are still glimmers of hope. We see the continued protests in Ceuta, where people are demanding are demanding change, accountability, and a better future.
These protests suggest that the spirit of the revolution, the desire for freedom and dignity, is not extinguished. It's a testament to the resilience of the Syrian people.
Absolutely, and it's a reminder that their story is far from over. The Syrian people deserve our continued attention and support as they navigate this uncertain future.
So much to unpack here. It's clear that understanding the Syrian revolution requires going beyond the headlines and grappling with its nuances and complexities. What stands out to you as we wrap up this part of our deep dive?
For me, it's the resilience of the Syrian people that shines through their unwavering spirit in the face of unimaginable hardship. Their story is a testament to the human capacity for hope and resistance, even in the darkest of times. It's truly inspiring. Their story is a stark reminder that even amidst the ruins of war, the human spirit can endure.
It's a story that deserves to be told and understood. So let's continue our deep dive, moving into a period that saw some of the most intense fighting of the entire conflict.
Yeah, we're gonna focus on a city that became synonymous with the brutality of this war, Aleppo.
Aleppo, once a thriving cultural and economics center, a city steeped in history, found itself right in the heart of the conflict.
Exactly, and it was here in Aleppo where the devastating impact of Russia's intervention became truly apparent.
We've talked about Russia entering the war on the side of the regime, but what made their involvement in Aleppo so significant?
Well, a Russian air power played a decisive role in the battle for Aleppo. They relentlessly bombarded rebel-held areas, turning entire neighborhoods into rubble. Some sources compared it to the kind of destruction you'd see in World War II, and a level of devastation that hadn't been witnessed in modern conflict.
It's hard to imagine the sheer scale of destruction, the human cost of such intense bombardment.
It was truly horrific. Hospitals were targeted, schools were destroyed, and countless civilians were killed or injured in the relentless airstrikes. It wasn't just about military targets. It was about breaking the spirit of the resistance, punishing those who dared to oppose the regime.
So it was a deliberate strategy of terror aimed at crushing any form of dissent.
Yes, and tragically, it was a strategy that proved effective after years of fighting, facing overwhelming firepower and a relentless siege. The rebels in Aleppo were forced to surrender.
The fall of Aleppo in December 2016 must have been a major turning point in the war, a crushing blow to the opposition.
It was. It marked a significant shift in the balance of power, solidifying the regime's control over a large part of the country. It also had a demoralizing effect on those who had been supporting the opposition while emboldening the regime and its allies.
It's almost as if the fall of Aleppo signaled a shift in the entire narrative of the war, a sense that the regime was now on the path to victory.
You could say that it raised serious questions about the future of the revolution, about whether a different outcome was even possible at that point.
But even amidst such despair, there were still those who refused to give up the fight. And one group that emerged as a key player during this time was the Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF.
The SDF, primarily made up of Kurdish fighters, became a crucial force in the fight against ISIS, particularly in northern Syria. While the regime was focused on consolidating its power in the west, the SDF was opening up a new front against ISIS in the north.
So while Aleppo was falling, there was another battle raging against ISIS.
Yes, and a pivotal one at that. The SDF, with the support of the U.S.-led coalition, played a critical role in liberating Raqqa, which had become the de facto capital of the ISIS caliphate.
The battle for Raqqa must have been incredibly intense, given the reputation of ISIS for their brutality.
It was a brutal and protracted fight. But the SDF, with the backing of U.S. air power, ultimately succeeded in driving ISIS out of the city in October 2017.
This must have been a major victory, not just for the SDF, but for the entire world. It dealt a significant blow to ISIS, depriving them of their stronghold and symbolic capital.
Absolutely. The fall of Raqqa was a turning point in the fight against ISIS. It marked the beginning of their decline and demonstrated the effectiveness of the SDF as a fighting force, even against a formidable enemy like ISIS.
So while the regime was focused on consolidating its power in the west, the SDF was successfully combating ISIS in the north. But what about other parts of the country? Were there still pockets of resistance elsewhere?
Yes, even as the SDF was battling ISIS in the north, the regime backed by Russia and Iran continued its campaign to crush any remaining opposition. One of their key targets was Eastern Ghouta, a rebel-held enclave on the outskirts of Damascus.
Eastern Ghouta, another area that became synonymous with the suffering endured by the Syrian people.
Tragically so. Eastern Ghouta had been under siege for years. Its population subjected to relentless bombardment and starvation tactics. It was a humanitarian catastrophe, a stark reminder of the regime's brutality.
And what happened in Eastern Ghouta? Did the regime manage to regain control there as well?
Yes, in early 2018, the regime with Russian air support launched a massive offensive to retake Eastern Ghouta. It was a brutal assault with indiscriminate bombing that caused widespread civilian casualties, and once again we saw the use of chemical weapons, a horrific tactic that sparked international outrage, but failed to deter the regime.
It's hard to comprehend the level of suffering endured by the people of Eastern Ghouta. They were essentially trapped in a living hell with nowhere to escape the relentless attacks.
The fall of Eastern Ghouta in April 2018 was another devastating blow to the opposition. It further solidified the regime's control over the country and crushed one of the last remaining pockets of significant resistance.
It must have felt like a moment of utter despair for many, a sense that the revolution had been effectively crushed.
It did for many. It triggered another wave of displacement with thousands forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in other parts of the country or across the border. The human cost continued to mount.
So even as the regime was consolidating its power, the human toll of the conflict continued to rise.
It did, and amidst all this suffering, there were individual stories of courage and resilience that emerged, reminding us of the human cost of this war.
You mentioned earlier the importance of those individual stories, the human faces behind the headlines. Are there any Are there any particular stories that stood out to you during this period?
There are many, but one that comes to mind is the story of Abdul Basit. Abdul Basit al-Sarud, a young goalkeeper who became an icon of the revolution. He was known for his powerful voice, his inspiring speeches, and his unwavering commitment to the cause of freedom.
A goalkeeper turned revolutionary icon. It's an interesting juxtaposition.
It is. Al-Sarud's journey reflects the extraordinary circumstances that ordinary Syrians found themselves in. And during this conflict, he became a symbol of hope for many. His songs and chants echoing through the streets during the early days of the uprising.
So he was using his voice, his passion,
Yeah.
to inspire and rally people.
Exactly, but like so many others, al-Sarud was eventually forced to flee his home as the fighting intensified. He continued to fight for the revolution, but tragically he was killed in battle in June 2019.
His death must have been a devastating loss, not just for his family and friends, but for all those who saw him as a symbol of hope.
It was his story, like countless others, reminds us of the immense human cost of this conflict, the countless lives lost, the dreams shattered, the families torn apart. It's a reminder that behind the political machinations, behind the geopolitical maneuvering, there are real people whose lives have been irrevocably altered by this war.
It's a powerful reminder that we can't just view this conflict through the lens of statistics and military objectives. We have to remember the human stories, the individual lives impacted by this tragedy.
Absolutely. And as we move into the later stages of this conflict, we see a disturbing development emerge, one that reveals the depths of the regime's cynicism and depravity.
This is the part about the Captagon trade, right? The Assad regime's involvement in drug trafficking.
Yes, it's a chilling turn of events. Having consolidated its control over much of the country, the Assad regime turned its attention to a new source of revenue, the drug trade.
It's hard to believe that a regime already responsible for so much suffering would also be involved in something as nefarious as drug trafficking.
It's a stark reminder of the depths of their ruthlessness. Syria has emerged as a major producer and exporter of Captagon, a highly addictive amphetamine. This illicit drug trade has become a major source of funding for the regime, allowing them to line their pockets while their people continue to suffer.
So while the world is focused on the political and humanitarian fallout of the war, the regime is quietly building a drug empire.
It appears so. This development has raised serious concerns internationally, not just about the regime's intentions, but also about the destabilizing impact this drug trade could have on the region and beyond.
It adds a whole new layer of complexity to this already multifaceted conflict, and it makes you wonder where does this leave the Syrian people? What's their future amidst all this?
As we approach the present day, we see a country still struggling to recover from the devastation of war. The economy is shattered, millions are displaced, and the humanitarian crisis shows no signs of abating. The future remains incredibly uncertain.
It sounds like the Syrian people are facing a long and the difficult road to recovery with immense challenges to overcome.
They are, but amidst all this darkness, there are still flickers of hope. We see this in the ongoing protests in Sweden, where people continue to demand change, accountability, and a better future.
So even after all these years of conflict, the desire for change persists.
It does. These protests fueled by economic grievances and a deep-seated yearning for justice demonstrate that the spirit of the revolution is far from extinguished. It's a testament to the resilience of the Syrian people, their refusal to give up hope.
It's incredibly inspiring to see that even after enduring so much, they still believe in the possibility of a better future. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what stands out to you about this period of the conflict?
For me, it's the stark contrast that emerges while we see the regime consolidating its power through brutality and exploiting the situation for profit. We also see the extraordinary courage and resilience of the Syrian people. They continue to resist, to fight for their rights, to dream of a better tomorrow. It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can endure.
It's a message of hope that we should all carry with us as we continue to explore this complex and tragic conflict. Let's delve deeper into those glimmers of hope, those expressions of resilience as we move into the final part of our deep dive. Yeah, it is incredible to see how that spirit of defiance and hope has persisted throughout this conflict. It's really a testament to the human capacity for resilience, even in the face of overwhelming adversity.
Yeah, it is, and this resilience manifests in many ways, not just through protests and armed resistance, but also through art, music, and cultural expression. Even in the darkest of times, creativity finds a way to blossom.
That's a fascinating aspect of this conflict that we haven't touched upon yet.
Yeah.
How did art and culture become a form of resistance during the Syrian Revolution?
Well, think about it. When everything around you is being destroyed, when your voice is being silenced, when your very existence is under threat, art can become a lifeline.
Yeah, it's a way to reclaim your identity, to express your pain, to connect with others who understand what you're going through.
Exactly, and that's what we see happening in Syria. Music, poetry, graffiti, theater. These became outlets for Syrians to process their trauma, to document their experiences, and to imagine a different future.
So art becomes more than just entertainment. It becomes a tool for survival, for healing, for resistance.
Precisely. One of the most powerful examples of this is the music that emerged from the revolution. Syrian musicians used their voices to speak truth to power, to rally support for the uprising, and to mourn those who'd been lost.
Did this music have a particular style? Was it influenced by traditional Syrian music or by more modern genres?
It was a fascinating blend of both. Many musicians incorporated traditional Syrian musical styles, instruments and melodies, but infused them with modern influences, creating a unique and powerful sound that resonated deeply with people.
It's almost as if they were taking something familiar, something that connected them to their heritage, and using it to express something new, something born out of the experience of the revolution.
That's a beautiful way to put it. These songs became anthems of the revolution, spreading messages of hope and defiance and resilience.
And I imagine that these songs help to create a sense of community, of shared experience among those who were struggling and resisting.
Absolutely. Music became a powerful unifying force, transcending geographical boundaries and connecting Syrians both within the country and in the diaspora.
It's a testament to the power of art to bridge divides, to heal wounds, and to inspire hope even in the midst of chaos and and destruction.
It is, and it reminds us that even in the face of immense suffering, the human spirit finds ways to create, to connect, and to endure.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the Syrian revolution, I'm struck by the complexity of this conflict, the immense human cost, and the incredible resilience of the Syrian people.
It's a story that challenges our understanding of the world, forcing us to confront the darkest aspects of human nature, but also reminding us of the indomitable human spirit, the capacity for hope and resistance, even in the face of unimaginable adversity.
It's a story that demands our attention, demands our empathy, and our commitment to supporting those who are still struggling for a better future.
The Syrian Revolution is far from over. Its consequences continue to reverberate throughout the region and the world. It's a story that we must continue to engage with, to learn from, and to never forget.
We've explored the political and military dynamics of this conflict, the humanitarian crisis, the rise and fall of different factions, the role of international actors, and the resilience of the Syrian people expressed through art and music and protests.
It's been a journey. It's been a journey through a complex and often heartbreaking landscape, but one that ultimately offers glimmers of hope and inspiration.
As we wrap up, what's the one takeaway you hope our listeners will carry with them?
I hope they'll remember the human faces behind the headlines, the individuals whose lives have been forever altered by this conflict. The Syrian people deserve our empathy, our solidarity, and our support as they continue their struggle for peace, for justice, and a brighter future.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Syrian revolution. We encourage you to continue learning, to stay engaged, and to support the Syrian people in their pursuit of a more just and peaceful world.
And remember, even in the darkest of times, that the human spirit can endure. That's a powerful lesson we can all learn from the Syrian experience.